activities. NCAC, for those of you who don't know, is an association, a coalition of 59 national nonprofits. We are in these very difficult times of book banning. We're deeply involved. We've always been worked with the grassroots, and today we are deeply involved in assisting people who are pushing back against book bans. We write to school boards and school districts that are violating their policies. We're trying to help organize people who want to speak out, and we're very busy. And sometimes it's a little depressing. We're at a time when the number of book bans is doubling every year. But one of the things that cheers us, that keeps us going, is the role that kids are playing in fighting censorship. They are, in so many ways, the most articulate defenders of these books as they stand before school boards and explain their meaning, the meaning of these books to them. So it was a natural thing for us to want to facilitate a competition that allowed kids to write about the books that mean the most, the banned books that mean the most to them. And I'm going to allow, we're going to hand now to Christine Emeran, the director of our Youth Free Expression program, to introduce you to the winners. Christine?
Thanks, Chris. It's so great to be here tonight. As Chris mentioned, NCAC's Student Advocate for Speech. It's a national high school club advocacy project together with SCBWI Impact Fund. This spring, we have co-organized an essay contest competition with a theme, How a Banned Book Changed My Life. We invited high school students in the United States to submit a 250-word essay on this topic. We received dozens of submissions, and it was a competitive process to select the winners, which involved 2 rounds of finalists. We warmly thank the judges, who were retired publishers and writers, for their work. It is with great pleasure that I announce this year's winners of the Essay Contest. They are Neve Bonura-Learnard and Harsidak Singh. We congratulate you. I will share a little bit about the work they selected to write about in their essays. To begin, Neve wrote a personal essay about John Green's Looking for Alaska, published in 2005. Looking for Alaska follows a group of young boys at a boarding school who experience a terrible tragedy. Looking for Alaska concerns grief, hope, friendship, and our continuous search for the meaning of life. Looking for Alaska made ALA's, American Library Association's top 10 most banned book list in 2016, 13, and 12. In 2015, it was #1 most banned book in the country, according to the ALA, while Harsidak wrote about Khalid Hosseini's The Kite Runner, published in 2003. The Kite Runner tells the fictional story of Amir, a young boy growing up in Kabul, Afghanistan, in 1970, who flees wars and immigrates to the United States. 2 decades later, as an adult, Amir returns to changed Afghanistan. The Kite Runner has been challenged for its offensive language, sexual content, and event suggestions that would lead to terrorism and promote Islam. The Kite Runner was on ALA's top 10 most banned book list in 2017, 2014, 2012, and 2008. So tonight, each student will be reading their essays. We will first begin with Neve.
Hi, everyone. My name is Neve, and I am so excited to be here with you all tonight, and I am so excited to read my essay. Just give me a moment, and then I'm going to get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for this amazing opportunity. Okay, so without further ado, here we go. About 3 years ago, my mother looked me in the eyes and told me that I needed help. As a 12-year-old living in a world where mental health was deeply stigmatized, therapy sounded like my worst nightmare. I was perfectly content letting my life fade into darkness, if that meant fitting in. The next morning, Looking for Alaska by John Green lay atop my nightstand. I found that despite my protest to my mom's endeavors, I was absolutely taken by the book. I would find myself sneaking away to finish a chapter or anxiously rereading a line, careful not to miss a single detail. My heart would pang at every angsty teenage moment, every epiphany, and like every other reader, I sobbed my eyes out when I learned of Alaska's death. And when my journey with Alaska and the rest of the crew ended, I could no longer hide it. I could no longer keep the river at bay. I had to accept that the pain that I was experiencing was more than just a bad day. Until this book, I had never wanted to explore my brain because I knew that I wouldn't like what I found. However, seeing that Alaska's struggles never tainted her beauty, her fierceness, or her spirit, I chose to fight on. In fact, maybe it was her pain that exemplified her brilliance. Whatever it was, I refused to be lost like Alaska. Like John Green once famously wrote, the only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. So I forgave myself for hurting. I'm not exaggerating when I say this book pulled me out of a dark place. It reminded me of the simple joys of peeling fruit, morning sun, and my own laughter. A novel that can have such a profound impact on someone's life, even save it, should never be taken away. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. It is so exciting to be here with you all tonight, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Neve, for that moving essay. And with this time, I now present Harsidak, who will read his essay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Harsidak Singh, and I am so excited to present my essay today. For you, 1,000 times over. Those words from The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini resonated with me on a level that I had never experienced before. As a South Asian male, I had always struggled with the feeling disconnection with my heritage, constantly struggling to find stories and characters that truly represented my experience. But when I read The Kite Runner, it was like a piece of me had been unearthed and brought to light. For the first time, I saw a depiction of my culture that was authentic and unapologetic. The customs, traditions, and beliefs that were so deeply ingrained in my identity were finally being recognized on page. And beyond that, the novel gave me a new understanding of the human condition, particularly the weight of guilt and shame. Through the journey of Amir, the protagonist, I learned that it is never too late to seek redemption, to make things right. That even in the darkest of moments, when we feel like we have no voice, there is always a way to speak up and fight for what is right. The Kite Runner moved me to tears, but it also moved me to action. It made me want to be a better person, to speak out against injustice, and to seek out stories that truly reflect the diverse experiences of people like me. It is a book that I will carry with me always, a reminder of the power of storytelling to unite us and inspire change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harsidak. I would like to thank both Neve and Harsidak for sharing such powerful, life-changing personal stories. As winners, they will also receive a gift certificate for ebooks or a reader. We would also like to thank Publishers Weekly for publishing these winning essays to be featured in an upcoming article. Lastly, I would like to thank our co-sponsors for this wonderful opportunity to showcase such young talent who offer testimony as book ban defenders. I now introduce Lynn Oliver, who will present the next speaker.
So, ladies and gentlemen, how about those students? I'm a little verklempt. Jenny Kamen, do you know? Is there a word for it? Yes. By the way, let me introduce you to Jenny Kamen, who is our second sign language interpreter. So we thought it would be very interesting to take these two brilliant students and put them in conversation with an actual banned author. And as the banned author, we invited Ellen Hopkins, who is the author of 14 young adult books and most recently a middle grade novel as well. She writes novels in verse. All 14 of her titles have been banned because they tell the story of teenage with frankness and with clarity and without allowing the students to read what they need to read in order to educate themselves. So Ellen, why don't you come on? I hope you're there. There she is. Hi, Ellen. And I'm going to invite Neve and Sid to come back on. Can you guys, there they are. First of all, congratulations to both of you, Neve and Sid, for those incredible essays. They're so profound and so beautifully presented and beautifully thought out. You are a shining example of hope for our generation of people. So I'm going to let you talk to Ellen and Ellen talk to you, and I'll be back in a few minutes. This will be about a 5-minute conversation, and I hope everyone in the audience is as moved and as intrigued as I am. On you go. Who wants to go first? Neve, do you have a question?
Sure, I'd be happy to go first. Hi, Ellen. It's so nice to see you again. I first just wanted to start off with kind of a nuanced question that I'd been thinking a bit about, but as for those of you who don't know, unfortunately, Ellen's books are one of the most banned books in the country. And I think that's so unfortunate because reading about some of your novels, they sound so profound and they speak about issues in such an important way that lots of different children can understand, which I think is really important. So one of the questions that I came up with was wondering, why do you think that so many people are so challenged by such difficult topics? Do you think that it might be something that they don't understand or a little something deeper?
Well, first of all, I'm not a stranger to book banning, but generally in the past, it's been like one school district or one parent that has a problem, and that allows kind of conversations. What's happening now is it's a politically driven movement that doesn't allow conversation or dialogue. And someone was talking earlier, I think it was Henry was talking about that we're all alike, and people kind of we've kind of lost track of how we're more alike than we're unalike, and that has also been driven by this political charge to have you hate you, and we need to right versus left and all that. And if we can get back to talking to each other as people, and I hope my books do that. And I would also say that I've spent my entire adult life trying to help young people, like my own kids, my grandchildren, and certainly my readers. My drive has always been trying to show maybe how to make better choices instead of taking choices that might hurt you, right? And so it's hurtful to be called names by people that haven't even necessarily read my books. They're just reading pull quotes or whatever. So the idea that we could talk, we need to get back to the dialogue if we can do that.
I completely agree. I think that oftentimes, and this might not be the case for all banned books, but sometimes I feel that people don't even read the actual books that they're deciding need to be banned. They don't even fully understand the important issues that are being discussed in these books. And especially with yours, even though I have not yet had the pleasure of reading one of your novels, I'm actually going to the library this weekend.
Hey, we're going to change that. Yay.
We need to change this world.
Awesome. How about you, Sid?
Good evening, Ms. Hopkins. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you.
Okay. My question to you is that your books have sparked conversations and debates about the boundaries of censorship and freedom of expression in literature. How do you navigate the fine line between pushing societal boundaries and ensuring your stories are accessible and relatable to readers of all backgrounds?
All my books are character driven. So if you read my books and not pull quotes that have an F word or whatever that upsets somebody, and you get into my characters, it's about how the characters relate to each other, to the real world, to their parents, to their friends, which is like where you guys live. That's what I've always been writing. I'm not writing to groom somebody or hurt somebody or trying to convince somebody to be other than they are or whatever. I'm writing to expose places that you guys live. It's like there are a lot of adults that would like to assume that kids don't have these issues in their lives, but they do. It touches these issues, thoughts of suicide, addiction, depression. These things touch young lives every single day. And so to assume that they don't happen or to try to push them off into a corner or pretend that the people that I'm representing don't exist, that's a travesty. It really is. And again, if we can just get back to let's read the books together and talk about like why they're important and like how they've helped other young people. And I know they have, because I get messages all the time from people that have read them, and I know that they've helped more people than they've ever hurt. And that's been my whole goal all the way along. So now I've got questions for you guys. So both Ruby and Henry talked about writing our truths, right? And that's what I've been trying to do, is not only to write my truth, but to write your truths. But there are adults out there that believe that if you guys read about things that maybe are not affecting you, that they're going to somehow damage you. So like if you read about somebody going through a mental health crisis, it's going to damage you. Or if you read about a different culture, it's going to damage you. So what would you say to those adults? Let's start with you now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just gonna just hearing, I don't know, just kind of hearing your question and just thinking about the fact that so many people around the world would think that learning about things that you yourself are not experiencing or you yourself are not a part of would be something that's wrong or should be challenged. It's just crazy to hear, because in my opinion, one of the most important parts of being a human being in this world is being able to connect with people that you don't know and people who are living through things that you are not experiencing. And in my opinion, that is what literature and books are all about. As a young queer woman, a lot of my friends don't know a lot about the LGBTQ community. And I think books are such an important way to learn about things that they might not understand, not because they don't want to, not necessarily because they're ignorant, but because they're curious and because they do want to know. They want to be an ally. They want to know about these communities that they feel that they could help, that they can make the world a better place. And I think the farther and farther that we get away from making sure that books are out in the open for people to learn about things that they're not personally knowing about, maybe they're not part of that marginalized community, I feel like the farther that we go away from democracy, in my personal opinion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. How about you, Sid?
I completely agree with what Neve said, but like before I just say anything, I just want to say, Miss Hopkins, you are a phenomenal author. As a person, as like I read one of your books, Crank, and the characters feel so rich. They feel like someone I would actually meet. And I just want to say that before I would continue with my answer. And I think that people are banning such books, because they feel comfortable in their ignorance, right? Books, especially about different cultures, about multi-faceted, complex issues, are sometimes a bit difficult to read just because there are so many points of view. There is no right or wrong answer. There is no right or wrong people or principles that you have to choose. It is such a complex discussion, and people are afraid to do that because they're just afraid. They are afraid to challenge their worldview, and we can't let them have that. That is why censorship is fighting censorship is so important. Having a range of books available to all those people who need them is important for us to further progress as a society, as a progressive society, where each person feels comfortable in their identity and seek help for whatever issues that they might face.
Right. And this is what I'd like to say to you. Like, I know we have to finish up here, but you guys give me hope for all us old people that we can listen to you and develop understanding as well, because you guys are the future. And, it's like, it's your future. You direct your future. You step out there and do what you need to do to direct it. And those of us in the that are like back here, we're supporting you. I promise you, you know, you have all the support you need. You guys need help, let me know, right?
To speak for myself, that is such a nice compliment. Thank you so much. All I've ever wanted to do through my whole life is just to help inspire social justice and change around the world for people. And hearing that I'm just making a little bit of an impact is really great. And I just want to say thank you so much, Ms. Hopkins, for speaking with me tonight.
Love you guys.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hopkins.
Thank you.
So, and I want to say that both of you, I've been looking at the comments in the chat, both of you have been nominated for public office by everyone in our audience. So you have bright careers in front of you. Thank you. This was an incredible conversation. And both of you should know how much change that you have affected in just using just your words and your presence. So thank you. And Ellen, thank you so much for appearing.